What's up, guys? It's your boys Wilkie back with another Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger video. This has been sent by actually hundreds of you guys about exposing the Chris Watts affair, but how Nichol Kessinger controlled the interview, the CBI agents, how she got away with apparently murder. Now, I don't think it's necessarily her that controlled the whole murder. It was her and Chris, and then people are also stating that apparently the other guy that Nichol was seeing, this gym guy, was in on it too, which I don't believe that part, because why would a guy help out another man's mistress? I don't think that's him. But before we go any further, what I want you guys to do before we dive into this video is subscribe by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so when I do post videos like this one, you'll get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so very much for the love and support you guys have been showing on this channel. We already hit 21 and we're on our way to 22K, and eventually for the future, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be at 100K. But it's all because of you guys, and I thank you so very much. Now, with that being said, my disclaimer for this video and all of these videos, this is for educational purposes only. None of my opinions, theories, or possibilities of what I'm about to say in this video is to be taken lightly or, for matter of fact, negative towards the Watts family or anything for that matter. It's just my opinions, my theories, and theirs that we're watching as well. So please take that in consideration. So also keep the the comments down below positive. Keep them positive towards each other. I hate to see negativity down there, besides towards these guys that we're about to watch. And let's get into the video. This one is from a Martin Decoder. He's stating, exposing this Chris Watts affair, how Nichol Kessinger controlled the entire video with the CBI agents, how she got away with it, and so forth. And I would like to know a little bit more about this. So with that being said, let's get a video.
So it's been about 2 or so hours and getting some things done where they're going to sleep.
You could tell that right there, he was at fault.
Okay, so I'm pulling out of the refrigerator.
Don't leave.
Hypothetically.
Please.
Yeah.
Don't
Hypothetically.
leave on. Did you hear what I said?
This will be very interesting.
How do the agent's questions match Nichol's answers? And what happens when the questions cause conflict and confrontation? This is my second video about the new video release of Nichol's police interview. You can find the link to the first one in the description box below.
You guys want me to watch that
I've also
one?
made a number of other videos on the Chris Watts case. Feel free to check the playlist. The observations I'm making are critical thoughts that every trained detective should have when interviewing subjects. If it's your first visit to this channel, I hope you feel welcome. Subscribe for more videos. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for coming back to this channel. As always, if you like the video, press the like button. That helps a lot.
Do it if you want to.
Let's go for it. The first question type is the dichotomy question, yes or no responses. Dichotomy questions encourage the subject to speak in shorter terms. However, this isn't the case for Nichol. She elaborates constantly of her own accord. In many or most of Nichol's elaborations, she refers to general norms, general morality, mimicking what other people would say.
And so for me, out of respect just for like whatever situation he had going on and the fact that it's not my home, I felt that it was better to be in my place.
So during June and July, were you aware that his family was not his? Did you meet his children?
No.
During June and July.
And he didn't ask me to.
Okay.
I mean, not that I didn't want to ever. It was just not now. It's like you're not finalized with your separation, and not only that, we've barely been dating. Like, you can't introduce kids to somebody new in a situation like that. That's something that takes time. I mean, would I have liked to have met them? Of course. I mean, that would have been
We don't need to know
great
that.
honor for me to have somebody introduce their children into my life, and but not then. It was something that it was like, okay, well, let's see where we're at in 6 months. Let's see where we're at in a year. And if we're still doing this and you and me are still, you know, happy with where we're at and you think that this is something that is going to be long term and is worth bringing your children into the picture, then yes, I would love to meet them. But it's like, not right now. You are still in this situation where you're not even completely out of it. And I'm getting in it, and that's not fair for them. And that was kind of the policy that I had with him, was it was just like, yes, but not yet.
This way of responding is the rule, not the exception. Nichol has a lot she wants to say. As her dad says,
You like to talk, I can tell a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
400, when she was young, she'd crank out about 400 words a minute, gusts up to 600. That old thing can yak,
That-
man.
You're a talker, so
This dad should not be in here. Not in the beginning. No.
I'm letting you talk.
I need to use the restroom.
Let me show you where it's
Can
at.
you
So
give me some water while you're out there with
Sure.
them, please? Thank you.
Another bottle?
let's
Yeah, at least one.
move to Sunday.
interviewing a talker is demanding for agents. It requires them to not only keep track of situations,
And I noticed, I apologize for interrupting the video. She keeps looking up at the camera. Like she's... It's like, why are you looking at the camera?
conversations, places, and persons, but also be able to do it in a matter of seconds. It also requires them to interrupt the subject, and far more than they end up doing in this interview. The lack of interruptions is due to two circumstances, the most important one being that Nichol is there of her own accord. She's not a suspect. This isn't
She
about
should be.
pressuring her to give information. The second circumstance is that the detectives conduct this interview under rather stressful conditions. They have to phrase the questions politely, not only because Nichol's not a suspect, but also because Nichol's dad is there, observing the detectives and observing Nichol. Also, when we dive deeper into Nichol's long answers, she often blurs the meaning of what she's trying to say, which makes comprehension even harder. We notice this here.
Did your friends know about him?
Nope.
Why?
Yes, they did.
Because it's like he's with 2 women right now. They don't
Okay.
need to know about
They
it.
So if
knew.
you had a boyfriend,
I
but
mean,
this
it-
one you were a little bit more. You said he's with 2 women. Was that one of your considerations for not telling anybody about him?
Yes, well, I mean, it was like, okay, like this. To me, it wasn't going to be an extended thing. Like, if it got to the point where we were like dating for like 3 or 4 months and he's still talking about, oh, I'm going to move out and I'm going to sell the house, I think at that point I probably would have just been like, I don't think you're really like doing these things you say you're going to do. And I probably would have just like left, because at that point it's not fair. It wasn't fair to me in the first place. It wasn't fair to her in the first place. It wasn't fair to any of us in the first place. You know, it wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. It wasn't fair to me
You did it!
to have him lie to me and make me think that everything is going to plan. And still to this day, I don't even know what's a lie and what's not. I don't even know if they were like filing for divorce. I don't know if they were putting the house up. I don't even know
Yes, you do.
anymore what is real and what is not.
The agent asks a short question about Nichol's considerations, and now it's Nichol's turn to answer. She uses her turn to first voice concern for herself, that it wasn't fair to her in the first place. Then she voices concern for her, as she says, distancing herself from Shanann,
She never
before
says
she
her name.
states that it wasn't fair to any of us, associating with Chris's family. In relation to blurring her answers, we should note how she finishes with multiple statements about what she doesn't know, that she doesn't know what's a lie and what's not, if they were filing for divorce, if they were putting the house up, what's real and what's not. These are important denials, denying knowledge of key elements in the investigation. A subject that doesn't know what's real and what's not is very difficult to question. Whether this is intentional self-protection on Nichol's part
Yeah.
or just a way of speaking is difficult to establish. However, regardless of intention, the function is the same, making it difficult for the agents to ask her anything. Immediately after this long turn, all the agent can do is say, sure, and let Nichol continue with another turn
She just keeps
that
rambling
ends
on.
up with her crying and the agent apologizing for interviewing her.
But what I do know is it's just like, you know, that wasn't fair to me either, because if I'd have known, not even all the truth, but like obviously some of it, I wouldn't have even engaged in any of this in the first place. And it just, I mean, and that's the part for me, just like on my personal level, outside of everything that is happening, that is gonna affect me long term. It's like, you know, I'm gonna wake up every day and know that like this mom and her unborn child and these two little girls are not around anymore, and it breaks my heart. It is so, oh my God. And then I have to think about like the consequences of his actions and how they affect everybody else. Like all of these, her family's impacted. My name is about to be like slandered for
See, she's more worried about her name than anything else.
probably a while. I don't know how long it's going to take to
Oh,
heal,
it's
but I
been
would
what?
not be surprised.
5
It's
years
going
and
to be
we're
hard
still
to go
doing
in
it?
public sometimes for a couple of years, and that really hurts me. I'm just like, this is a horrible, horrible thing. Like, how dare you, you know? And people aren't going to understand that. I take a step back, and it's just like, I didn't know. Like, it's, he's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him
She
and
should does-
everything.
she does
and
this.
I just, oh, those little girls.
She's over exaggerating.
They're so little. They're so little.
We talked a little bit earlier about getting some help for these things, and we can provide that
Okay.
at really no cost through the state.
One more we just want to make sure there's resolution.
Absolutely.
That's why we come to you guys to
Yeah. And
pound it down
hey,
until there's
I'm
nothing left.
sorry that you're talking again today. I really am. I don't want to put you through any more trauma than you've already been through. There is
Man, she cleared up pretty quick, though.
reasons for everything that we're doing today and what occurred. And I'm sorry. I genuinely am sorry. These are not things that we like to do twice. It's the same thing with other types of victims from other crimes. We want to do it once and we want to be done. Unfortunately, we didn't know yesterday what we know today, and that's why we're here, because we need this video. And I am sorry, because I know it's hard to talk about it.
She starts her turn by saying, "But what I do know," contrasting what's about to follow with her preceding denials, what she didn't know. In this turn, she gets to mention 3 main areas. 1. She expresses concern about how this is going to affect her long term. 2. She says that it breaks her heart that this mom and the rest of the family are not around anymore. 3. She makes Chris responsible, how his actions affect everybody else, including Nicole. With 3 key areas, and with Nicole's previous denials in mind, it's difficult for the agents to ask follow-up questions to each area of a long answer. And obviously, Nicole's crying makes it even more difficult, because it makes one of the agents repeat how sorry they are. Linguistically and psychologically, this puts the agents at a disadvantage. In the following, we should pay attention to the verb remember.
But it's so sad, and she's pregnant.
Which she
And,
knew.
You know, on our end, we
God,
didn't.
and they're so cute. They're so little. Like, why? Why? How? I don't even understand how you could like bring yourself to do that to somebody who's like that big.
Is anybody falling for this? Because I'm not. She deserves an Oscar.
Oh, Jesus.
Take a minute. Do you want to step out for a minute?
No, I just need to chill with my eyes closed for a sec.
Man, when I cry for a while. I don't know how you can cry and then just back to normal.
Alright, let's keep going, because we're just getting to like the meat of this whole situation.
Let's get to the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11.
I
What
call
did you guys, or pardon me, on Sunday from 9 to 11?
BS.
Yeah, we talked a few times. So Sunday, I think so. I need to think. I can't even think.
Take a couple breaths and take a second.
Sunday night. I don't even know. I don't think I was like concerned about anything at that point.
You guys had had a meal, a nice meal the night before. You knew his wife was probably coming home late that evening.
Oh, you know what? I still don't remember what we talked about. I like honestly like we talk about so much random stuff. Like it's so
For 117 minutes, you don't remember what you talked about?
hard to pinpoint some of these things. I don't remember what we talked about. I do remember that was a long phone conversation though. We probably talked about all sorts of stuff. One thing I do remember though, that I didn't remember earlier when I was talking to Mark. So this is like where I'm starting to remember like little bits and pieces.
From a critical perspective, saying that she can't think relieves her of having to provide details. The verb think is a hedge, indicating probability rather than certainty. We shouldn't necessarily be suspicious of hedges, but we should be aware of their function, giving subjects leeway to modify or retract their statement at a later point in case they suddenly think something else. In police interviews, appeals to honesty should be noted, since it's presupposed that we tell the truth and thus speak honestly. Honestly is so-called unnecessary language, combined with a question.
You know what?
The word indicates that she's very aware of the other people in the room, very aware of the information she's giving. Again, it's not suspicious behavior in itself,
But
it's just something you should be aware of as a detective. Why the overemphasis on being honest at particular points in the conversation? She says it's hard to pinpoint. She doesn't say that she finds it hard to pinpoint some of these things. Linguistically, she makes the pinpointing objectively hard. The restriction, sum of, indirectly lets the agents know that there are other things that aren't hard for her to pinpoint. The sentence,
We probably talked about all sorts of stuff.
is not only unspecific, but also obvious. Obviously, when people talk, they talk about all sorts of stuff. But even though it's already unspecific, the hedge probably makes it sound even more uncertain. Before she restricts what she remembers to one thing and little bits and pieces, as she says. And lastly, there's the verb remember. By definition, and regardless of intention, this verb allows the subject to bring up singular memories, to say what they want to say and leave out the rest. It's used excessively in this passage and indicates self-awareness on Nichole's part. At this point in the interview, Nichole's used so much equivocating language in form of hedges that she's gained more and more control of the topics they discuss. The agents are more or less forced to go along with what she remembers. In the following, notice how when Nichol gives the information about Chris watching TV late at night, the agent asks about the TV. Granted, this could be vital information, but notice how in an interview like this, the agents are most times forced to go along with whatever the subject wants to talk about. This kind of interview is very different from a cross-examination.
I don't remember. Yeah, I know. So the phone conversation, I don't remember what was in the phone conversation. Probably nothing of relevance, to be honest with you. But usually he talks to me when he's like down in the basement in his bed before he goes to bed and before I go to bed. And I could hear the TV on, which I thought was kind of weird. I didn't ask him. I just heard it in the background. And I remember thinking, and it was like right before we got off the phone, I was like, why the hell is he up? And there's like no TV downstairs. So I was like, well, maybe, I don't know.
So no TV in the basement where he usually calls you from?
Yeah, and I don't know how many TVs they have. Like, I've never been in their bedroom. Like, I went upstairs once and it was like to their little playroom and I just like looked at it and I was like, that's super cute that your girls have books. And that was like it. And other than that, I have never been in any of those rooms in that upstairs. Like, to me, it was just like, you don't know, like, ever. I had no, so I don't know if he has any other TVs. I'm assuming by, like, how much other nice stuff they have in their house, it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm not quite sure what room he was in at that point. But I just remember hearing the TV, and I was like, it was just weird to me because I was like, why are you watching TV right now? It is like super late. And that's
the best time to watch TV.
As I explained in my previous video about this new release, it's sensitive to Nichol to emphasize her lack of time spent inside the home. This emphasis has an obvious self-protective function. It also portrays her in a positive light, as someone who had certain moral concerns about this situation. The adverb usually implies that there were times that deviated from the conduct she's describing. Unusual situations, so to speak. It would have been interesting to ask about these unusual situations as well. She initiated these long turns with the restriction one thing.
One thing I do remember though.
And she ends with the equally restrictive, and that was the only thing.
And that was the only thing.
Narratives almost always end the way they started, as a cue to the other speakers that the subject's done talking, at least for now.
That's good.
In Nichol's phone interview with the same agent, she was also in charge of the conversation most of the time. In the following, notice how Nichol gets the upper hand in this phone interview. The two of them are discussing the times and durations of the phone calls between Chris and Nichol.
And when we FaceTimed, he didn't really say much. Like, it was almost kind of awkward. I don't even know why I didn't think of this earlier, but it was very short too. It was super brief. So I think what happened is he called me on that first call, and then there's that gap between the first call and the second call. In that gap, that was when we FaceTimed for a few minutes.
So do you think that 2 minute and 44 second is the FaceTime?
The one at the very end?
Yeah. Well, so
I don't even think the FaceTime's on there. On Monday.
And that's when he texted you at like 3:45.
No, we talked during work. Remember I told you he like randomly texted me throughout the day at work, but it was just like a conversation.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like anything of
No substance. Okay. So the most important thing that you've said here is this Monday night phone call, he doesn't have any sheets on the bed, and he said his children's sheets were smelly.
They smelled.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's get back to that, because I feel like you and me are kind of getting off track.
Yep.
So go to those.
Remember I told you it's the first sign of Nichol's upper hand in the conversation, calling the agent to remember what she said. The second and most direct sign of Nichol's upper hand is her saying that she thinks they're getting off track. Here, the roles are reversed. Normally, it's the agent's job to say
No kidding.
He then agrees with her.
Because I feel like you and me are kind of getting off track.
Yep.
So go to those.
This way, Nichol effectively shuts down the conversation, dismissing it as a digression. Back to the video interview, we see what happens the minute the agent deviates from his friendly and polite interviewing style. In the following, notice the agent's multiple self-repairs. Self-repairs are self-initiated interruptions of self-initiated utterances. In this context, they show that the speaker is not only extremely hesitant, but also uncomfortable with carrying out a certain speech action, such as asking a potentially controversial question.
None of this would ever even occur if he would have just told me the truth.
It also probably would have never happened if you didn't go into his DMs and you guys talked and sent nudes towards each other, looked at wedding dresses for 2 hours, gone on these special dates when he was supposed to be focusing on his marriage. That would have never happened as well.
So do you think if he found out that you, if, let's say this week you guys were to go look at some apartments, and this is hypothetical, but you've never found out that his wife was pregnant.
Lie.
Would that have changed anything?
Besides self-repairs, we note a prolonging of the possessive pronoun his.
You've never found out that his...
The initial consonant sound is called a glottal fricative according to the International Phonetic Alphabet,
Holy crap.
which contains the sounds of the languages in the world. Fricative means that the sound is produced by forcing air through a constricted space. Combined with glottal, it means that the flow of air is tightened by the glottis behind the tongue. This phonetic observation points to extreme hesitation. We don't even have to hear his completed question to know that he finds it controversial. Phonetically, He reveals
Interesting.
this himself. As a quick side note, as part of my education, I had to memorize all the sounds in the phonetic alphabet.
Really? Hell no.
So think long and hard before you become a linguist. Just kidding, it's all fun. After
Holy
asking, would
crap.
that have changed anything?
Would that have changed anything?
The agent's completed his turn constructional unit, which is what linguists call an utterance that has reached its first possible completion point, grammatically and or phonetically. However, he continues modifying.
Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture.
He modifies with the associating like you just said, making his question sound in agreement with what Nichol just said. When associating with the subject's often more likely to answer. But still, he's not getting the acknowledgement from Nichol and her dad that he's obviously
They're just,
looking
like,
for.
Staring off the
So
distance.
if his wife was not pregnant, and forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right? She's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. You're not going to. I got divorced from my wife.
Despite his politeness strategies, the agent's about to be in deep trouble.
You say, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone,
But this,
Don't lead,
hypothetically,
please.
Yeah.
Don't lead
hypothetically,
on.
if she,
Okay.
you understand where I'm going? If
Right,
you
but
didn't know,
You're leading into
Right.
questions that are nothing with your,
if you didn't know though
wait, Nick,
that she was there,
did you hear what I said?
I'm following you.
Again, the agent's forced into an apologetic role. In the following, when he finally gets an answer from Nichol, notice how quick he acknowledges what she's saying.
And she keeps looking at her father for like, what do I say? He's not an attorney. Okay? What the hell?
I just want her to answer a question that relates to, she said something that's important, that if he didn't have a child on the way, or if she didn't know that, she would have continued the relationship, right?
at what point does he think that I'm going to be in a relationship?
I'm not talking about the children. I'm just talking specifically about her. If you only knew, if the kids were still here, and he called you and said, "I'm divorced from my wife," and he gets away with this, do you understand what I'm thinking from his aspect?
I still wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't do it because I'd be like, where did she go?
Okay.
When an uncomfortable situation occurs, the speaker who made the situation uncomfortable is typically the first one to make things right again. The agent says okay with downwards intonation. This functions as an approval, and the approval is given very fast. Now Nichol has the word.
Because I'm under the impression that she's a really good mom. Like, he never bashed her momming skills. Like, no, I wouldn't, no.
Okay.
No.
Next, it's sensitive to the agent to make sure that he hasn't upset Nichol. Before he formulates anything else, he wants to clear the air first.
And that, you see where I'm trying to take that?
Yes.
So you guys never had a conversation about the child, period.
I didn't know
Okay.
at all.
Yes, you did.
And by your words, if you did know, you would have ended the relationship.
Well, because it wouldn't have made sense to me.
These are
She literally said, I would rather have your firstborn son. What? And now she's saying if I would have known that she was pregnant, I would have ended it? What?
interrogative formulations, they're declaratives. Declaratives simply convey information. So in this sense, he draws the conclusions, rapidly recreating the friendly atmosphere. Next, Nichol does everything she can to keep disassociating from Chris by stating that Chris wanted to see her more than she wanted to see him, and it ends with laughter between her and the agent.
All right, we can move past that. The week that he comes back from North Carolina, you don't remember, somewhere in the first couple weeks of August.
Yeah, I think it was the second week, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
So we'll just use August as a time frame. Is that fair? Because you know he left in July and he comes back in August. How many times do you think you see him?
I saw him a few times. I saw him this past Saturday. I saw him the Wednesday before that. And he wanted to see me more. I was the one who wanted my space. I was like, nope, your kids are home. Go hang out with your kids. And even on Wednesday, I cut it short. Like, he came and hang out with me for a few hours, and then I was like, go chill with your kids.
Okay.
I was always like,
Do
really
you
respectful
know
of their
specifically where you guys went? Did you meet at your house? Did you guys go to any restaurants? Did you go to establishments? Where'd you go?
Last Wednesday, he came to my house. And this past Saturday, we went to, what's the name of that bar that we used to go to? It's not the same, the Lazy Dog, but it's the one off of 144th and I-25. I think it's 144th, up there.
And it's the Lazy Dog?
Yes.
Did he ever mention a Rockies game that night?
No, I don't think so. But there was a, the Broncos were playing.
Okay.
Which we couldn't see because they sat us in really crappy spots, but it's okay because it's preseason. But,
So, do you recall what time you went there?
In my new video about this new release, I go into more detail about disassociation and linguistic self-defense, as I call it. You can find the link in the description box below.
Was that it?
In
I was enjoying
conclusion,
this
the
one,
agent
actually.
doesn't sound fully comfortable conducting this interview, even though he uses different strategies to try and create a friendly atmosphere. He sounds restricted by the format, having to be polite and being observed by Nichole's dad, while at the same time trying to get to the bottom of things. One of the few times he asked a quote-unquote controversial question, he was stopped before he finished formulating it. Most of Nichole's answers are long and contain many different areas, but the interview format and the circumstances around the interview don't allow the detective to ask sufficiently about each area. That's clear from analyzing his speech pattern. Thanks for watching and subscribing to this channel. See you in the next video.
So with that being said, guys, if you want me to watch that other one, I definitely would love you guys to comment your thoughts when it comes to me watching this, the disassociation and so forth like that. That Nichole, I can't believe that Nichole was like, we're getting off topic. Let's get back to this. Say what? Even getting into more and more details, but from different linguistics and sort of like that, and the body language guy, and then it baffles me. There's people that want me to watch tarot reading when it comes to the energies, and there's so much stuff. I don't know if you guys want me to watch all this stuff, but again, for those people that are just coming into the new video, let me know if you guys' thoughts down below. If you guys are returning and want more info to give, definitely comment down below. Hit the like button for justice for those girls and baby Nico. That's hopefully what we'll find in the future, because she's like, well, I don't want to get my name slandered for a couple years. We're in 2023, and it's 5 years already, and we're still talking about this. We'll be talking about this for years. Just throwing that out there. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, my reaction, and we'll see you guys in the next video. So keep it real, keep it safe, and always keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys next time.